Welcome to the inaugural podcast of Fast Times, the motoring section of the Manila Times. This is your host, Dino Directo. I'm the editor of the Fast Times section. I'm with my colleagues right now, Francis Aguila, Jen Chu, Chewy Buhion, Isaac Atienza, and Alain Luis Geronimo. Welcome, guys. Welcome, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever part of the globe you are in right now. Well, what's up? What's up with the industry right now? It's, shall we say, annus horribilis. I miss I'm sure most of us here miss our lives behind the wheel. How about you, Francis? Do you miss
Definitely, boss.
racing? Do you miss racing?
Definitely, boss. We missed a year of racing. Like you said, sana nga next year matuloy na.
How about you, Jen?
Uh,
What do you
I
miss most?
I miss getting all the test drives that they used to have. And basically being able to drive out a little further than San Juan because I'm based in San Juan, and that's what I miss the most: being able to just drive out whenever we want to.
How about our resident food cart tycoon, Isaac Atienza?
Well, I actually miss driving as well. Well, I still drive nowadays. It's just driving, but there's no sense of occasion in the destination since you're really fearful of this virus. I really miss, of course, going to all the tourist spots in the Philippines in a safe manner, of course.
How about you in Thailand? How's Thailand?
Thailand's great. We have been very fortunate na we got it under control and medyo nagigilty ako kasi I get to travel around a little bit freer. Pero syempre, you can't be so lax na, diba? You don't wear your mask, you don't wash your hands, and you don't sanitize all the time. So realistically, we actually even had the chance to go see two auto shows come together. So medyo yung namimiss ko lang talaga is ang Pilipinas.
And now, Alain, do you have some words on how do you find the virtual car launches? Now that we've been attending car launches, but virtual.
Yeah, everything's completely virtual na. That was since March because the last event that I covered was the Maxus T60.
Mm-hmm.
Doon yung talaga yung meron silang virtual test drive on and off road. There's even quite a crowd nung that time when I was covering there because and that was the last physical car launch event that that I covered back then. No, when the lockdown just happened, that was back in March 17, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we've been avoiding. We've been warned not to go out of our houses. So until until May rather, na they actually then when Ford started to give invites for the launch of the Ford Everest Sport. Yeah.
My initial reaction to that invite was how 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 are we gonna how are we gonna attend that? And it was my
It's
first intro
more
to virtual launch.
it's more of giving invites to Zoom meetings than you just sit there in the computer, sit here facing in the monitor, then watching a short video of what the cars would look like. And there's this feeling that you kind of miss checking out the cars, unlike a physical launch, like a physical car launch rather. Um, you don't get to actually feel the car firsthand. You get a small glimpse of what the car will be like until the test units arrive. Pero ngayon it's no longer the case. You can't actually feel the car when it's about to be launched. It's more on the site and not on what we actually get as a first impression.
Sa Thailand ba ganun din? Do you also do virtual launches during the pandemic, Chewy?
Yes, sir. Actually, the one of the few virtual launches na attendan ko is with Ferrari.
Hmm.
With Cavallino Motors here, they
Mhm.
did theirs completely virtual. It was nicely done, of course, for for the Thai market. My host sila na Thai, and really, um, coming from the back end, also you'll see yung production value na these
Mhm.
manufacturers put into it. They really want to recreate yung experience na kahit wala tayo dun sa launch, nandun pa rin tayo.
Among us here, Francis is involved in motorsports. Alam ko bago mag-pandemic, kumarera pa kaya yata, di ba? Yung BMW
Actually,
nyo.
no, hindi na umabot, boss. We were preparing for this year, but unfortunately, nga, inabutan ng COVID. Well, that for the year, really, what happened was there were no events, no sanctioned racing events. For example, the Vios Cup was postponed. Was
Mhm.
actually eventually
Mm.
canceled for this year. That's the biggest event of the year for motorsport. Um, Events like V1 of the Tuasan Racing School, events like the Philippine Endurance Challenge, all of those were canceled. So everything moved towards virtual racing or sim racing.
Is there an upcoming like sim racing event this January or
Uh,
February?
well,
Magkakaroon ba?
actually, there was a big one earlier this year. One of the biggest ones was GR Supra Asia Cup. There's a lot of events going on right now, actually. So um,
Mm.
we have currently, I have a team, Auto Performance Motorsport. We have a team that's campaigning in the Phil Pacific GT Challenge. Si Mike Potenciano is currently running his virtual Le Mans series. Um, there are, I think AAP has a virtual rally series as well. It's ongoing now. Prior to that, there were also a lot. One of the first ones was Tuason Racing had their race for frontliners, which is a really interesting event, and I got to participate in that event also. So they raised, I think, 400,000 pesos worth of donations for PPEs, supplies, food, things like that for hospitals, police, and military who are part of the relief efforts and things like that. So that was a really really good a good event in terms of social civic um, contributions. But definitely now there's a boom in esports racing, and I think
Mm.
next year it's just gonna get bigger and bigger.
Yung topic ni Ike about sa annual report natin is the surge in sales in second-hand cars, no? Mas dumami yata ngayon kaysa last year.
Yeah,
Is
actually in this pandemic, talagang affected yung auto industry. As in, we really know that sales are down. As a matter of fact, CAMPI, the Chamber of Automotive Manufacturers of the Philippines, which consists of brands like Toyota,
mhm.
Honda, Mitsubishi, their sales figures are about 42% down compared to
Mhm.
last year as of October. So that's the latest sales figures that I was able to gather as of October. It's also the same case with Avid, which
Mhm.
also known as the Automotive Vehicle Importers and Distributors,
Mhm.
which consists of Hyundai, Ford, Subaru, and those brands. They also reported a decrease in sales of about 42 or 43%, about the same as Campi as well.
Ito,
So
ay, okay.
this pandemic has really affected the automotive industry, the how new car sales are. A lot of people canceled their purchases of a brand new car since of course it's an expensive purchase, and then since of course the pandemic also has caused an economic downturn, so there are job losses, there are closed businesses. Talagang everyone or a lot of people held off from their car purchases. But then again, there are still people who are afraid of commuting. Do you agree, guys? Would you go
Yeah,
to
yeah.
would you take a bus na madaming tao and in an age of social distancing and all
Oh,
that, and
Oh,
sharing the same air with someone
totoo yan
inside the
Ikaw yung nakasabit sa labas para free-flowing air.
dahil yung search in second-hand cars was brought up by Vin Soco when we met and we did not met, we had a virtual meeting, with Toyota. I don't know if they set it up already, but according to Vin Soco, magkakaroon sila ng second-hand car, used car department. Dahil since March, ang dami raw nabatak na kotse. Mga nag-default na ng payments, not just cars, no? Because federal land sila, even pati yung mga realty properties
Real
nila,
estate.
yung mga condo, nagkaroon din ng mga problema. So talagang ano, like CarMax is doing good, no? Yung second-hand car department ng ano ng Leica Group.
That's true. That's when I was able to interview Sir Clarence, they really did say that second-hand car sales did increase during the pandemic since
Mhm.
it's the more affordable option to having a brand new car, and it's also at the same time one way to have social distancing rather than commuting in a bus that's filled with people or a train
Yeah.
filled with people, no? So, takot talaga yung mga tao mag-commute. So, one affordable way, apart from a motorbike, is to have to buy a second-hand car.
Mhm.
Another challenge, I guess, itong pandemic is why also there's a decrease in new car sales is the financing aspect. So, a lot of banks are very wary of approving loans since yun nga, job losses, and they're not sure if the buyer will be able to sustain the payments in the coming months, mga ganon. So they're a lot stricter now with
Problema nga yan.
approving loans. Let's ask, like, how's the situation in Thailand, like in terms of car sales? Is it like the same case as the Philippines, like super down?
I think everywhere in the world, expect natin, a car is a luxury. And I don't mean every car is a luxury car, but a car is a luxury. You know, if you can afford it, then you're gonna buy it. It's a depreciating asset unless you go out and buy, those old SLs or collector car. Financially, you're correct. Medyo mahirap to get a vehicle nowadays. Everyone's high risk. Kahit may trabaho ka, we don't know, maybe in the next month baka mawalan ka, knock on wood. Pero what Sir Dino mentioned about uh, like CPOs, certified pre-owned vehicles. There are dealerships here. Toyota does a really great job here with a CPO because they have their own dealership called Toyota Sure. Now, it's not all Toyotas per se, but a majority of it is the Toyotas that you trade in or yun yan, nahatak ng Toyota na financing. Na they're basically like they've been checked over. They have 1,000 point check or something like that. They've been checked over. May konting premium, pero assured ka naman sa quality. Brands like BMW and Mercedes have a CPO program also. They're very, very good.
I think Toyota has a similar program in the Philippines, the CPO program as well. They have the 1,000 point check, even a 1 year warranty. If I'm not mistaken, maybe my details wrong, but I think they have a similar program here in the Philippines with Toyota.
For those who don't know, CPO, by the way, is certified pre-owned. And it gets certified by the dealership. So Toyota will certify the Toyota, or they'll just certify it with their expertise and their mechanics.
Right now, Chewy, could you update us on what's happening with the Thai market? Because most of our cars are, like they come from that part of the globe.
Yeah, actually, we just had the Thai International Motor Expo. It's actually still ongoing right now. It's till tomorrow, I believe, the 13th. And the number one thing that you can see with the Thai Motor Expo is it's all about electric vehicles. It's all about moving on, making really a sustainable future. The Thai government itself and Thailand is invested in making a sustainable future. We have a EV battery factory that actually just got finished here in Thailand. And so when you walk into the Motor Expo, the first thing you're even going to see is the Mini Cooper booth with the Mini Electric. It goes all the way from economy to luxury. So I'm talking about like the MG EP estate. You guys don't have this there, but I wouldn't be surprised if it comes in the near future, since you see how like Nissan and also MG is making a move for electric in the Philippines. We have things here that's a little bit more familiar also, like the Mitsubishi Outlander. You guys have the PHEV version there, which recently launched. Here they have a complete plug-in, rechargeable plug-in. And I mean, you guys saw it also, the Taycan. We have the Cayenne e-hybrid. Mercedes had a couple of stuff here. The Jaguar I-Pace, which was launched also this year in the Philippines, was here. And the Audi e-tron. Na pinakorek sa akin yung pronunciation. It's not e-tron, e-tron. So,
There's a no no there's a shift in electric cars dahil is the industry observers are saying and predicting that it's a in thing next year, e-cars.
it is. Problema natin, not just in the Philippines, pero in Southeast Asia, is yung infrastructure natin. Saan tayo magcha-charge? Can our power grids really take this? So on and so forth. Pero dito, pag bumili ka, I went to MG the other day and I checked out their booth. Pag bumili ka, may libre kang pa-install and may libre kang charging bay. Yun kung nakatira ka sa bahay. If you're like me and I live in a condo, syempre, hindi naman pwede dumikdik sa pader ng condo, di ba? So,
Oh.
medyo yung nahihirapan pa, there's an office building that's right next to my condo. Pwede ka pumarada doon to charge. And EV charging is free. Also, if you go to malls, exclusive parking and EV parking. So, EV is the in thing for now, and it is the future. We can see globally, kahit sa California, they're outlawing petrol consuming vehicles. So that's what we have.
Alam mo, tama ka, infrastructure. I
Yeah.
was talking late last year to PGA. Porsche was pressuring them to put up a charging facility because I think the Philippines is the one of the only uh, the dealers here in this part of Asia na walang electric cars in the inventory.
Wala.
The problem is no the amount of money involved in putting up a charging facility, and I don't know what's the range of an electric car. Like kunyari if Jen, no, she travels to say La Union, would one full charge make it to La Union, or does she have to charge up the car in between, like in Pampanga, or problema yan kasi if you put up a charging facility along the way, baka kabitan ng mga squatter yan, magkaroon ng kuryente yung di ba? Sa
Magja-jumper
highway.
din sila.
Magja-jumper din sila. So, ikaw Jen, would you travel? Would you risk taking an electric car to a far-flung area, far-flung
Um,
resort?
Boss, I can answer you with a resounding no. Because for one thing, we have we have unpredictable traffic situations here. That's the first
Mhm.
thing that I will be very concerned about. If we have smooth flowing traffic, then it would actually be easier for us to gather data that would enable us to answer these questions like, so can one full charge allow you to make it all the way to La Union from Manila? If we don't
Mhm.
have that kind of data, then it would be very hard to reassure drive motorists and even manufacturers of how to properly sell these kinds of vehicles. Um, so it would still be better, even if, let's say, itap ng mga tao yan, it would still be better to have charging stations along the way because infrastructure will work hand in hand with whatever vehicles we have. So it has to do with how government regulates it and how even how the local government would help to secure these charging stations. Because I remember that actually, truly, I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. In Thailand, I know that the Nissan Leaf actually sells quite well there. When it sells better there than it does here or in other countries in Southeast Asia. Would it be, am I correct in
Re-
that? Kasi may,
Relatively, kasi they've offered it here for the past couple of years now.
and I know that what happens there is that they actually have an infrastructure, sort of like they have charging stations in place where you can actually plug in your destination. And if you're driving, let's say either a hybrid or an electric car, it would that route would actually go through these charging stations. So at any given time, you have the peace of mind of being able to top up and top up and top up and make sure that you get to your destination, medyo maayos pa rin. Kasi kahit sabihin mo hybrid yan na, it's part electric, it will charge your gas, your petrol engine would actually charge your electric engine, then I mean, really, do you want to break down somewhere in the middle of the highway? Baka
Yeah.
hindi ka na mahanap hanggang bukas.
Well,
Tama naman.
the other
Yeah.
one also is that, if I remember correctly, and I'm not so sure if it's been addressed since, but I believe it was 5 years ago or even more that MVP brought in his Tesla.
His Tesla. I was gonna bring that up.
But
Yeah.
the problem is that, as far as I remember, he couldn't register it because
Yeah.
we
So
didn't have any legislation, any way to categorize the vehicle, and no way to register it. Because if you look at under the is it a gas, diesel,
mhm.
LPG, so on and so forth, there was no entry for electric vehicle, and so it technically wasn't road legal. And I don't, as far as I know, it still isn't registered. And I may be wrong about this, but I mean, even before you talk about physical infrastructure, something as simple as categorizing them as as something that you can actually register and make road legal, I would assume that's the first thing that has to be done.
Actually,
Yeah.
there are a couple of electric cars already on sale in the Philippines. The
Mhm.
Hyundai Kona Electric and the Ioniq Electric. They're actually the first brand to bring a fully electric car in the country,
Wait,
which was launched 2019. Yeah, I mean Nissan marketed the Leaf and all, but it's not on sale. But
oh,
Hyundai's already on sale, the Kona Electric and the Ioniq Electric since 2019 in the 2019 Mias in Auto Show.
Mhm.
I actually saw already a couple of Ioniq Electric and Kona Electrics in Cavite, Laguna area. So, yeah, I think in terms of the registration, I think there's already an electric car registration because when I saw the Kona Electric on the road, it already had plates.
yeah.
You
So I
know,
think that
I
part's already addressed.
I remember, no, Honda and Toyota reached out to the media. That was a few years ago when Honda brought in an Insight, and back then it was the Prius for Toyota, and they even gave away cars to President Arroyo, to members of Congress, to DOE, to have the legislation for the eventual shift, no, from gasoline to electric. It was there's a law pending in Congress. The problem was, no, the big three oil companies countered the passage of the law. Kaya dapat talaga may political will. And happy now, no, na unti-unti hybrid. Kaya hindi umubra yung full electric because of that. Hindi
Talking
umubra.
about backstories, I got the good opportunity from the Times to test drive the Leaf when I was in LA
Mm.
about a few years back, and range anxiety. I'll tell you first off, range anxiety is a real thing. Pero the way that they sell it is my lifestyle siya kasama. So if you stop at, let's say, a charging station, 30-40 minutes magcha-charge ka dun until it's okay range. Pero there are restaurants, it's in a mall or something like that. And my distance comparison ka, that what they actually want you to do is to charge at your house. Tapos, syempre, dadalhin mo yun to the office or wherever you're gonna go. Tapos pagbalik mo ng bahay, charge mo ulit. Basically, like, yung ginagawa natin sa cellphone natin. But it's true, Jen is correct, because of the factors ng traffic, even yung init, actually, yung init nakaka-apekto yan ng electronics. How hard you work the aircon, how hard it is, how hot it is outside. That will really affect the range. But as a transportation tool, can I just say, electric vehicles driving them is so much fun. It's just instant
Yeah, you
torque,
have instant torque.
incredible
Instant.
acceleration. And I think even motor series like the E Extreme, Lewis Hamilton, and the Sites family,
Formula E.
and Formula E. I think really we're going into a cool future about that. And talking about future, there are some cars expo that I know that are going to reach the Philippine shores for sure. I got to tinker around with the Isuzu MU-X. We're waiting for the launch there. The Mercedes GLB, which slots in after the GLA and obviously the GLC. Yung Kia Carnival, this is actually really funny because sanay tayo sa 3 rows. Kia Carnival has 4 rows. So medyo dapat may pilay kayo na kaibigan dun sa pinaka dulo.
Well,
Gaano kalaki yung fourth row niya?
It comes out, so diba, the third row, in the third row we have that about, let's say, a 6-inch gap between the wall, the rear door and that last row. It's small. I'm not claustrophobic, pero hindi ko inattempt pumunta sa likod.
They actually sell an 11-seater carnival here in the Philippines. They have like
Fun
variants
time.
of the 4-row carnival. They actually have it here. It's
Good
the
time.
entry level variant.
yung carnival na yan, I borrow it whenever I go to Bicol. It's a perfect vehicle for people smuggling. Carnival, laki ng space eh. Dami mong naiuupo. Buong baryo kasama mo na.
It's a beautiful car too. Futuristic design. I've seen Kia Philippines also take out a couple of teasers. Ni-launch din yata yun recently. Nissan with the facelifted Navara. Locally, my Pro 4X and Pro 2X sila. So that's the 4x4 and the two-wheel drive variants. And more importantly, the Honda City. Recently, you guys got the 1-liter turbo ng City.
No, you or us.
You guys.
We actually got the 1.5 liter.
Okay.
Though it's different from the previous 1.5 liter because the old one was a SOC, single overhead cam engine. Now it's a dual overhead cam.
Sure.
Well,
So
there
that's
you
the
go.
change for the 1.5 liter now.
All right. So what they released at the motor show is an e-HEV or an e-hybrid. It's not a plug-in hybrid. It's just fancy terms for a hybrid City. So enjoy the fuel efficiency of the normal City plus more. So this thing could probably run for months just on a full tank.
Did they
Uh,
also launch the hatchback as well? Kasi
They did.
dapat after the local launch of the City, like last October, a month later, Thailand has launched the City hatchback.
They did. So the City hatchback is actually, it's like an ode to what the City was. So if you look at the original City, the original Civic, those CRXs, it looks a lot like that, size-wise. And the thing is, the City is not it's not an ugly vehicle. It's actually really, really handsome. So put that handsome face with that hatchback, it looks really sporty. Now, is this going to be going into Jazz territory? No, it's still a little bit smaller than the Jazz. The Jazz is still in a class of its own, and I don't think really it's going to affect anybody's. If you're looking for a bigger hatchback, then you'll go for those ones. But this is not going to really affect any of those choices. This will ensure that, but this will surely affect the first-time buyers that want that extra space, but they don't also want to fork over a ton of money.
Pero
But it will surely affect the Brio market. I'd rather buy the hatch than buy a Brio.
That's where I was super curious because it kind of overlaps. Kasi syempre, size-wise, they're all very, very close. I think this is like the HRV, BRV argument also. So I think they're banking on more product loyalty. If you're loyal to the City brand or the City nameplate, then you'll probably get the City hatch. But if you're loyal to the Brio brand, you'll probably get the Brio nameplate. That's just my guess.
Pero do they still sell the Jazz there? Because I keep hearing or seeing people saying that it's called a Jazz replacement, quote unquote.
I believe they still sell the Jazz here. In the United States, they still sell the Fit. Special vehicles, though, in the Motor Expo, which I know everybody was excited about, was the Toyota GR Yaris. I saw it in the flesh. Grabe, guys.
Lucky
It is.
you.
Yeah. So you can go on your PlayStation now and you can play it on Gran Turismo, but I got to touch
Yeah,
it.
I saw. I saw it. I also got to do. I also downloaded the updated. I got and included the GRERs as well.
Exactly. So put in your times now kasi alam ko hanggang bukas na lang yata or today yung time scoring none. So the Toyota GRERs, for those of you who have been living under the automotive rock, it's a very limited number Yaris, born from Gazoo Racing WRC. So this is their WRC winning vehicle. A very very finite number is being produced, and only, I believe, 7 is coming to Thailand. I don't know if there are any landing in the Philippines. The one that I touched was already bought, so medyo not happy na binubuksan ko and whatever.
You
Pero
know,
problema na nila yun.
you know, yun, nabasa ko yung story ni Elaine about the car models that we're looking forward to. Ang pogi nung D-Max, ha?
And
Sana they launch it dahil yung bagong D-Max is getting a bit long in the tooth, you know? I mean, it should be
actually,
replaced.
nagsabi si Isuzu and they're going to launch it next year.
So will they be putting on sale the current inventory? Because I think they're not selling anymore.
I still think they're going to finish off their old inventory before they're going to sell the new Dimas kasi anyway, they did say that they're going to launch it next year.
What cars are you guys waiting for or anticipating next year? If you're shopping for a car, what car would you wait for next year? Let's start with Francis.
Marami. But well, what is this? Well, first of all, I want to start with a BRZ slash 86. That's the first one.
Pogi na
Um,
yan.
it's the current 86, the first generation. Well, that second generation. I don't know because technically the old 86 was a Corolla. So, but the existing 86 BRZ, it's a really great car to drive. I've driven it long distance. I did a back-to-back drive with the 86 and the MX-5 in Clark, and I, I I really loved it. Between that and the MX-5, it's a really it's a tough call, because I don't fit so well in the MX-5. I'll take the 86. But if I was
Same here. I'm having difficulty fitting in the MX-5. I'm sure Jen will choose the MX-5.
no,
The
but
plus,
see, no, but see, it's not the MX-5's fault that I'm too big for
Tayo,
it.
tayo ang problema eh.
I am my problem exactly. But with the new one, it looks I think the styling looks a little bit more tame. I think that it looks just from the photos, it looks a little bit bigger. Um, but as long as it follows the same basic principle, which is lightweight, rear wheel drive, you know, very analog to the feel. I think it's gonna be a winner. And I've seen a few renders of it, dressed up with body kits and wheels and you know all this. It looks great. In fact, that's probably the car I'm looking forward to, as a lover of sports cars. But the real car I'm looking forward to actually is the Levorg, because I love
Yeah.
station wagons and um,
I agree with that as well. I love
Me
wagons.
right?
too. Me too.
I mean that I'm a station wagon guy, always have been, and I have an older one that needs replacing, and I'm just worried about them bringing out the small engine first, um, like they did with the current Levorg. But I mean, the photos look really, and the current one looks good. The photos look really good for the new one. So those are the two that I'm hoping to see next year.
How about you, Jen?
Francis has already mentioned the cars that I'm waiting for.
Sorry.
Ow! But
ako,
I think boss, you know naman, dream car ko is the MX.
MX-5.
I don't think I wouldn't say that I'm waiting for it because it was already introduced that you would be able to customize it now on their website. You'll be able to view it. I think we all were able to attend that virtual press conference regarding that, the new refreshed website, the new way that you can customize all of the trim and even the leather color of the MX-5. So that one I would like to see in person in 2021, just to put it out there. On top of that, yes, of course, the Subaru Levorg, one of my most
Yeah.
memorable. The Levorg has always been one of my most memorable test drives among all of my test drives. So anyone who knows me knows that I really love wagons also, and I really appreciate it. And the Levorg, when I had that test drive, people always told me that it suited me. So I guess that's why I have this affinity with it too.
Can I just say something about the Levorg real quick and Subarus in general? I really, really hope, and I hope Subaru you're listening. I really hope that they bring the auto lock feature into the car because, as a family man, the wagon that we have, it's my wife's car, and she carries my son in the back, and um, let's face it, we live in the Philippines. There are issues with people, opening up your car and stealing stuff and all that, and those sorts of situations. So Subaru, please, please, please put auto lock in those cars, please.
Agree. I
How
have to
about
agree.
you? Yeah, yeah, go ahead, Jen. Go ahead, Jen. Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to reaffirm what Francis just said about that because I think there is only one other Subaru that has auto lock, and that would be the Outback.
Yep, that's the
So
Outback only.
it's
It's
the
only the
Outback,
Outback that
the
has
only one with
speed
a
sensing locks.
yeah with the speed sensing locks. But the Forester doesn't have it, and to think that that's their best selling and iconic SUV. So Subaru, any room for improvement?
And
How about
and you're right, and Jen. They tend to have really great safety, like a full suite of safety features.
Eyesight.
That's the only thing that's missing.
how about you, Alain? The D-Max was in your number one list.
I
Why
didn't
the D-Max?
mention I didn't mention it in the in the article that I wrote. Pero I'm with Jen and Francis on this one. It's got to be the Levorg.
Livorg ba? Boss Glental will like this. Ano, How about you, Aiki? What's your looking forward to car for 2021?
And I also have to say it's gonna be the Livorg as well because I really
Livorg.
love wagons.
Mukhang nabigyan ka
No
ni
kidding.
Uzi ah.
One Levorg each, please.
And not sure if it's gonna come into the Philippines immediately. It's still in the development stage, but the rear-wheel drive cars that Mazda is also in development with the rumored rear-wheel drive Mazda 6 and the rumored rear-wheel drive CX-5, which will
Mm,
use an inline six of all
mm.
engines. So it's basically a BMW, a more affordable BMW in that case, since they're the one who loves inline six.
Oo.
So
Actually, you
though
know
Uh,
what?
there
Sorry,
are no teasers.
sorry. Aiki, I've mentioned this before to Stephen Tan. What I appreciate about the as a long time see love for BMW, right there. As a long time BMW lover, I have to agree that the Mazda seems to be like the Japanese and I mean this as a compliment. It's the Japanese BMW in the sense that if you are an enthusiast of front engine, rear drive, great handling, great looking cars, luxurious interiors, all that stuff. Mazda is, and again, I mean this in a complimentary sense. It's basically a half price BMW, without without a whole lot of loss of quality. I mean, basically, it's a great quality car, and you're getting it at half the price. The Mazda 6 is half the price of a 5 Series.
Agreed.
how about you, Chewy? I'm sure, aside from your Vespa,
I love my Vespa.
what car would you buy there in ano? Not not Ford, but if you're really going to buy one for
uh,
yourself, what car would that be?
no, honestly, because I got rid of my car, so I could make space for my Vespa. I'm looking into actually looking at the BT50, the new BT50. It's a pretty truck. I'm a big truck guy. I really want to check that out. It's parang ano siya, maporma, and it's capable because it's based off of the D-Max. So I'd like to check out the BT50. Pero totoo din niya, I'm a big Subaru fan also. Yung Forester naman. The Livorg is a little too low for me. uh, I'm feeling my age. Medyo mahirap na umakyat na yung may chan ka na, di ba, sir?
Hey, watch it, watch it.
Si sir lang dinamay ko. Yung may chan ka na, tapos
Hey, watch it.
sisiksik ka pa sa lowered car.
Mukhang last podcast na ni Chewy to.
Hey, I made...
Pero Chewy, agree ako dyan on that note that you mentioned about the Forest, the comfort level of the Forester. Kasi the reason why we chose to get, our family chose to get a Forester was because of the easy ingress-egress. Because it's easier for my parents. Kasi walang, it's not too low, so hindi ka babagsak when you're getting in. And again, since it's not too low, it's not difficult on the knees to get out then. Just to reinforce that.
Problema sa tuhod. Wala pa ako doon. Pero in case na pumunta na ako doon, nakahanda na ako.
Ako naman, I will go against the grain, no? If I were to buy a car next year, no? I'm looking forward to having an MX-5 in my garage. So number one is that, in terms of collectability, no? In comparison with the 86, tingin ko mas collectible pa rin yung MX-5. Saka may karakter yung auto eh.
Tanong ko,
Kumbaga, ito is a timeless design that even guys my age would look good driving it.
I will say this, boss, for the MX-5. I will say this for the MX-5, and I said this before. As a pure driver's car, I still think it's a better car than the 86. Precision, handling, being able to place the car exactly where you want it to go as an extension of basically being the car as an extension of yourself. I would say the MX-5 is the better car. I just feel like the 86 is more comfortable. It's more usable on a daily basis. And
Yeah, it's not.
and well, if you like going sideways, then the 86 is for you.
Well, ako, since I have a Honda as my daily driver, I would drive the the MX-5 on weekends, or if I feel like doing a burger run to Jollibee, yeah, I'd, I'd get the the MX-5 kasi kung there's a lot of potential with the car. You can change the seats into suede, the dashboard. It is limited by your own imagination. And
And
it's
I
a great
actually
car.
like
It's a great car.
I like the bucket. I like the way that the bucket seat kind of hugs you.
Maganda yung lumbar support niya.
Gumanda na actually
Mm.
over the different variants. I think over the different generations of vehicles, Mazda has also improved the lumbar support, because that was one of my biggest issues when I first test drove a Mazda before, that there was no lumbar support, and then later on they were able to incorporate the adjustable support for the lower back. So and now I think it's also present in models such as the CX-30 and all that. So it's a big improvement. Kasi tumatanda na tayo, aminin na natin, guys.
Hey.
Nafe-feel ko na. Nafe-feel ko
Yung-
na, guys.
yung Livorg, Livorg maganda. Ako maganda yung Livorg. Lalo na, lagyan mo na 19 na mag siya. Ang ganda niyan, di ba? Maganda yung Livorg sa family car. Pero ako kasi may Civic na ako. Okay na ako sa Civic. Happy na ako dun eh. So, kailangan ko na lang ng Tito car.
Kasi,
MX-5, di ba?
I get the impression kasi that the Levorg is really handsome talaga.
Hindi, pogi talaga.
Pogi
No
talaga.
question about that. Pogi yung Livorg.
It's basically a WRX that's more family friendly with the
Yes.
added trunk and
You know, when I buy a car, I also consider maintenance. Ang Subaru kasi, ang mahal ng maintenance. Ang mahal ng pyesa niyan. Like for the headlamp clusters of the STI WRX, na 300,000 yun. 300
yeah, because the
plus
headlights have a lot of tech. They have the swiveling
Yeah.
technology, so the headlight itself is really expensive if
Ma-
that gets damaged.
matindi ang pyesa ng Subaru eh. Saka walang Subaru na matipid sa gasolina. Aminin na natin yan. Ikaw, Jen, lakas sa gas, di ba?
Boss, malakas sa gas, pero happy si Daddy. Eh.
Oh,
So,
you,
Mas
I
malakas sa...
warned, okay, to be fair, I agree, malakas siya sa gas. And actually, the fact that you have to be on a high octane gasoline pa makes it even more expensive.
Petron.
Kasi one of the things that I noticed that, syempre, when we get a test car and it's going to be with you for a while, you ask them what the gasoline is for that car so that you don't get it wrong. So it's a high octane, gasoline.
So
As
Blaze.
opposed to, actually, Shell, ano ba yun? Ano ba yung ano niya? Yung,
V-Power?
yeah,
V-Power.
V-Power. Whereas, if you compare it to Mazda, kala ko Mazda, ganun din. Diba? Because, I mean, their positioning is kind of the same. If you look at
Saka
it.
high compression ratio, so it's a
Right.
requirement
Pero
supposedly. But
actually, Shell fuel save lang ang Mazda. It doesn't take
yeah,
a lot of gasoline. So, there's a difference right there. But yun nga, going back to what I was saying, it does eat up a lot of gasoline. It's very heavy on that. But and I warned my parents about that before we got the Forester, and my dad was like, "Pero ang sarap." My mom was like, "Pero ang sarap feel ko yung car so gets."
I can't believe no one's mentioned the new Z car. How has no one mentioned the new Nissan?
Nahilo ako doon. Hindi ko gusto yung amoy ng leather. Yung Napa leather.
Talaga?
Inasma ako doon.
Ang
Grabe.
daming cars na naka-Napa leather ngayon
Yun nga eh.
Iba yung cow nila. Ibang
Iba
klase yung mga cow
Kasi,
nila.
kasi yung BMW, namanayo ko na eh, Napa
Ibang
leather
Napa.
din daw yun. Nagka-problema ako dito sa, sa Nismo, yung 370. Dinala ko na sa Tanay. Halfway sa Tanay, di naman ako inatake, no? Pero pagdating ko rito, I have to puff up, dahil yung amoy ng leather nung Nissan.
The other
Yung
one, the new
Supra,
Bronco.
okay.
Do you know the other new one I hope they bring to the Philippines is the new Bronco.
Oo, panalo yun. Panalo yun, yung Bronco. Tinitest
Ford
ko lang si...
Bronco. Oh, wow, pogi
Ano,
talaga.
Chewy, dadaling ba rito yan?
So the Bronco Sport is out now in the United States. Bronco is going to be filling in their orders as early as January, but I heard recently that they pushed it back. So the United States, obviously, and also I believe the States lang muna yata. Yeah.
Will they be bringing it here in the Philippines? Will there be an allocation for that?
That I'm not really sure. I'm more focused on the Ranger program right now. So
Parang Tonka o parang Lego eh. Ang ganda.
yun nga eh. It's a straight out of a drawing board eh.
Ganda,
Yun yung maganda eh.
No,
It,
kakaiba
it,
siya.
it brings you back to being a kid, right? It's a car that
Oh,
when I was a kid, that's what an SUV looked like, and that's what I want to see.
boxy na
Yeah, and maganda siya because it's like a Lego din. Kasi matatanggal mo yung pintuan,
Yep.
yung
The
buko,
roof.
diba? And it's purpose built. It's purpose designed. Yung may mga latches siya. So what I keep telling people is you with working for a manufacturer, you buy. I see people buy trucks, but what they're really buying into is the lifestyle. Kahit hindi ka masyado ma-off-road, bumili ka ng off-roader. Diba wag mo sayangin yung poro mo sa EDSA ka lang. Dali mo yan sa Porac or wherever na yung bagong tambayan ng mga off-road is.
Pero totoo yun. Kasi diba ang daming mga 4x4s here in the Philippines na ang lilinis nila.
Oh.
Na I mean, I see a lot of 4x4s even in San Juan. And San Juan is small. Roads are small. Pero lahat naka 4x4, naka-rig silang lahat. So you don't know if it came from a shop or they're really taking it somewhere. But a lot of them kasi, they just use it really for city streets. You hardly... there are groups that take it out, like the likes of yung group nila Sam Liuson.
Si Sam Liuson may kasalanan yan eh.
Pero at least sila, they really take it out. Pero it's really a hobby for them. Yung talagang hilig nila. But there are some naman, it's really for forma.
Panglaban daw sa baha.
Hindi, tsaka kasi...
Hindi naman alam kung saan yung baha nila eh.
Oo, tsaka sila, yung tipong... Sometimes when you ask nga, why did you choose to buy a pickup or a truck? And then you'll hear the answer na, para hindi ka para hindi ka lalabanan sa EDSA. As a primary reason.
Bili ka na lang ng bus.
But no, but don't forget also, Jen, to be fair to those people, when
Right.
the new excise tax hit, pickups were exempted. So
Right.
actually, they fit into this price bracket where they're premium looking, premium, uh, in terms of especially the high, like I have a wild track, right? All the features are premium, but fit into a price bracket that's basically what, a high end, top of the line Civic, something like that.
That's
And you have
right.
a larger vehicle, 4x4, all
Yeah.
of the features that you want, all that stuff, and then Porma pa, it just makes sense.
Yeah, I forgot about that point nga. Kasi parang how many years ago na yun? So, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. That's what we were talking about a few years ago when the excise tax hit, I think. Na talagang tataas ang sale ng trucks at that time.
Yeah, alam mo, this has been a great first podcast. As usual, kulang oras natin. Kung pwede lang, magdamag tayo. Pero we're limited by time. I would like to thank the sponsors, Brembo and Blowpunk, Sonax. Anyway, thank you guys for this inaugural podcast, and we will see you again. Join us again on our next topic, which will be about Christmas giveaways and Christmas items that you need in your car. Jos Mabalos, maraming salamat. Thank you.